Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Danielle Nevins, and I just want to start with a little brief intro about me. I am, of course, a senior here at Auburn University in Industrial Design, and I really kind of more recently had the realization that what I love about design is designing the experience and not just the product. And I also really do, I wouldn't call myself minimalist, but I do enjoy simple and clean looks and designs, and so probably especially in my solo projects, so we'll see a little bit of that today. So this first project is Sweeper. It's a pediatric prosthetic foot, and the goal was to design a 3D printed prosthetic foot for children below age 5. So the client we worked with is amputee Blade Runners. They are a nonprofit that provides free running prostheses, and they work with a lot of children. The criteria included adjustability, the ability to be worn with or without a shoe, and providing, of course, the proper energy transfer and spring for it to be versatile for the child to walk or run, because children will go from one to the other in 0.2 seconds. And there was an additional goal also to design the actual CAD file itself to be modified by prosthetists in the future for customizability. So some highlights from the research we did. This is the Flower Formula pediatric foot. It works really well for older kids, but there's really no good solution on the market for children below age 5, largely due to a lack of demand. But prosthetics are really expensive to replace, and for children, they get replaced very frequently because of their rapid growth. And so the 3D printing solution also was designed to help with the price and with the ability to kind of grow with the child with the adjustments. So moving forward, I did some sketching to iterate and refine some concepts before moving into the CAD modeling and 3D prints. We did some PLA test prints over here, kind of towards the back, before moving into the final materials, which were nylon, and then adding on some carbon fiber reinforcement, which provided the strength and the flexibility needed for a child that young, since the fully carbon fiber feet that they use for older children are much too firm for the younger children. This is the Sweeper, and it just brings a little bit of grace into pediatric feet. That was something that was really important to me throughout the process, was the thought of bringing children confidence through it looking really nice and, you know, functioning properly. And so this was a concept that I had from the beginning, pretty much, that we just kind of fell in love with the form of and followed that. But it has an arch, and the CAD model I did design to be able to be adjusted with just a few universal variables. And it has the arch smeared in the model to be able to print the other foot. And then it has the stability and energy transfer incorporated into that design also. This one is Solace. It's a design sprint. It took about 15 hours total to build this stool from the ground up. And so the goal was to design and fabricate the fully functional stool. And there's a big focus in this sprint to explore fabrication methods and skills that I previously hadn't gotten the chance to use in our program. So as soon as I had a direction that I wanted to go for the stool, I went straight into some foam modeling for the seat, and I conducted user testing with that. And then overall, people thought it was very comfortable, but I did need to make some changes, especially for this back curvature, to allow for a wider range of body sizes. I locally sourced some pine from our university's campus, which I thought was a nice kind of touch, especially because I actually did keep this stool for my personal use. And I turned it on a lathe to get the bowl shape, and then sanded it down and cut it down to create the shape of the seat, and applied an oil finish. And I did change the back curvature some, and it did make it more comfortable for a wider range of people. And the leg application here, I had 1/2-inch steel bars that were bent and welded, and then sanded them down and painted them using the welding there. And this is the final stool. It's really designed just for comfort and simplicity as well as durability, and it was designed to fit well into a lot of different environments, so you can find solace anywhere. This is Seria. It's a visual branding exercise. Around here we call it the clock project a lot, which isn't really accurate. And the goal was to take the word serious and really distill that down into what it means, what it is, and to take the character of that with some of these inspiration photos that I have as well, and design a tabletop clock using those. So some ideation here. I really, in the beginning, struggled with this project, and I pushed the boundaries of serious in my like huge desire to not make it boring, because the two are too close to synonymous a lot of the time. And so I explored a lot of organic shapes and also some more precise angular forms, and then moved into further development with some foam models and further sketching. And the models really did help to inform decisions in here, including the choice that I did make to abandon the or more organic forms. You can kind of see them phasing out a little bit on the left, and then on the right, they're like totally gone. But that was just throughout the process, I did determine that the more angular hard forms were much more successful. And all of this exploration led to the final physical model, which is this black model that you see, which has all of the finishes and details. And then the final product here, it really embodies serious in an interesting way. I did hold on to that desire to make it a little bit different and to not let it get boring with the word serious. So I did have this asymmetry there that was very calculated. And then the finish choices do have some contrast between the matte and gloss without bringing it into being too busy or losing the essence of serious. The final project I'd like to show you is the Tutor Bug app. This is a UX UI project. It was a group project that was actually interdisciplinary. My two teammates, Annalise and Emma, are graphic design students here at Auburn. And the goal was to create an app that addressed the inequalities and challenges of public school in Alabama, and it had the potential to be used nationally. The app sought to make tutoring more accessible for K-5 students is what we focused on. And we did that with lower pricing, individualized attention, and flexible appointment options. So user pathway was kind of my huge focus of the project, especially as the only industrial designer coming into this in our group. So it was just so important to keep this in mind as we went throughout to make sure that we actually did meet the user's needs and didn't just design the pretty app. So these are some wireframes that we had, which we did a rough prototype with and user tested. We used that information to inform the final app design, which you'll see a little video of here. And this shows the student or parent side of the app. We also did design the user interface for the tutor side. But this is the account creation page where they would be able to provide a little bit of information about themselves and what their goals are, things like that. And then they can come in here to the home page. We've got the menu with more options and shows some of their upcoming appointments and things like that. And they have the ability to set goals and edit them, as well as view their grades, which there would be the option if their school participates, they can sync their grades over or just input them. And the rest of the video I will not share with you, but it shows more about the scheduling process and finding tutors on the app. And I thank you very much for your time.
Well done. So we're gonna wait, I guess, to the very end. So I guess I need to give you 2 more points. One is we'll have all the presentations. Either the judges will leave or be like giant bullies and ask everyone else to leave so we can deliberate in peace. After that, we'll reconvene and give feedback to everyone. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is I'm trying to keep the 8-minute thing online. So around 2 minutes, I'll turn around my iPad to show you the time. I'll wait till your eyes somewhat glance by me and then I'll return it. That way you're on. I'm not trying to distract you, but I'm also trying to inform you. So that's good. I believe we're still going in order. It's Oaks. Yes. Yeah, we need a little time. Okay, we're note taking. It actually works really well. I'm happy with the quality of this video. Take a full 2 minutes to plug things in.
Sure.
That's much better.
Do I can't tell if it's just being slow or not wanting. Oh, there we go. Sorry.
All right, judges, y'all let Bruno know when you're ready to go.
Right here. Are we ready?
No.
It's a long sheet, guys.
You don't have to fill it all out. It's guidance. It's not so much like law. Well, that same part of the Caribbean, it's like, it's suggestions, not a guideline. Captain Barbosa says it. It's super memorable. That's why I can't remember.
It's not rule, it's just a more guideline.
Yeah, less rule, more guidelines. Perfect. Wait for the blessing.
Yep, I'm ready.
All right,
We're good?
let's
All
do
right.
this, student merit thing.
So my name is Bruno Oaks, and I was chosen for this, and I named it Student Merit thing, because I honestly had no idea what this was like a week and a half ago. So very honored to be up here with everybody, and got a lot of great people to be up here with. And I kind of gave it a lot of thought, and industrial design is all about telling stories, so I want to tell you guys like my story kind of from the beginning as well, because like I really did not feel like adequate to be up here until recently. So when I came to Auburn University, I was a building construction science major, and I really hated it. I tried to drop out. They told me no. They made me take some tests, and then I was able to change and do industrial design. And so then I was like, all right, great. And then I took a break a little bit. I came back sophomore year for one semester, took just a bunch of core classes, and I marched in the AUMB again. And then I took a semester off. I became a pizza guy. This is really the only picture I have of myself during this time. I didn't see the sun for weeks. I just worked the night shift. So this kind of acted as my reset for school. I really had I did not like school, was not into it at all. So coming back was very scary for me. So, and I got to summer off. My mentality with this was either I get into this or I'll drop out, just kind of like all or nothing, honestly. So I got to learn how to draw. And I got in, and here I am. I really didn't know how to draw before this, so now I want to talk to you guys about my project. So my first studio, once I got into the studio, was exhibit and packaging with Shoe In. We worked with Pratt Industries, which they make boxes up in Atlanta, and make other kind of recyclable products as well. So they wanted us to research recyclable high-end take-up packaging, and they wanted us to create 3 final models. So after doing research, my opportunity areas were I wanted to really benefit larger groups of people. I wanted to eliminate the need for plastic because people are going to stack boxes instead of plastic anyways. And then I wanted to promote ease of mind for families with allergy specifications because my brother has celiac disease. And so if he gets gluten, it messes up, it can mess up his intestines and things, and it has serious consequences. So bringing awareness to these meals was something that was really, really important to me as I was going through this whole process. It was always in the forefront of my mind. So then I got the drawing, and then I started some models. Each concept was designed to meet 2 or 3 of my goals. And I also started to brainstorm the cohesiveness with each other. So I ended up with 3 final models, and I did a little bit of branding identity as well. I guess I slapped it up there in the corner. So yeah, we got the tray. This was the first concept I got to do. It was designed to be stamped out of one whole piece of material. You just fold it up and you're ready to go. It was really cool because the inside was really resistant to moisture damage, but it kept things pretty warm as well because of the way these vents kind of came out. Also had that link utensil wrap, which I thought was kind of cool. The stack right here, really emphasizing the tear off labels here. Those will be printed. You tear that off, you can see what under is, gluten-free right here. But this could also be used for dairy-free, vegetarian, or maybe even you're just trying to specify different kinds of foods. And then the cardboard sleeve allows no excuse for plastic whatsoever. And then the sling is kind of designed to be in tandem with the stack. This for more single serving boxes still incorporates the tear off labels. And then so you have a 1 box and a 2 box, what I call it. The sling can hold 3. If you need 4, you need a slack box or a stack box. So you go back to the stack. So they're all designed to be work with each other and be incorporated one another. So yeah, here's the family of that. It was my first studio. I really learned. I got whipped into shape, I would say, with Shoe In. Really learned how this thing was done. So resilience or better. This was my studio last semester, and this studio also tested me a lot because I don't really like working in computers, and a lot of this was on the computer. This was ended up being a CAD thing. So what does resilience even mean? It kind of just means missing new opportunities because we're trying to get back to the old ways. So and we can get back to the old ways, but there's like a ton of opportunities we might be missing. So we were presented all these opportunity areas, and I just ended up going with power supply or electricity. Did a bunch of research, made this poster. Really, the only things you need to know for this project is that you kind of know what energy is. It makes heat, makes work, things. Humans, we can't create energy. And then also any object above the ground has potential energy. So after that, once I did all my research, I got into it. I was like, what is this thing actually going to be? I was drawing a bunch of things, but it's really more brainstorming, not so much concepts, but just kind of putting my ideas out on paper. And then I decided to kind of go with gravity generation. It was kind of inspiring to me. I like old clocks and stuff with you put the weight up, it falls down. So then I got into CAT. I made a mechanism, and that was tough. And then I got the study model here with sandwich architecture, which just basically means like half of the gears were on this one and half the gears were on this one. You put them together and you had a system. The only downside of that was I had to cut it out of plastic right here, but I hooked it all up and it all worked really well. And so then it was time to move to the full scale model, because that is a platform that can be scaled to however much you need. This one had a different architecture, so you could see just all the gears right here, and using less weight, you had more power output because the leverage of the weight pulled it down easier. And connected to a proper generator, this one could actually have charged most personal devices that you would need. So once I got this mechanism figured out, I then went back and brainstormed again, where can I use this? Like, what can this be used for? And I came up with all these different kind of ideas, getting ideas out. And I ended up having these three main ideas. The one up in the corner over there is just a charging station. It's kind of inspired by like old technology. That was cool. Like the first electronic devices. This one was more of just a charging station, but this is where it really hit. And I was like, all right, this needs to be a workstation. And so with the way station here, you can charge your personal devices with a self-sufficient workstation. We got some general information here. It's about 7 feet tall. We got a mechanism, some weight. You put that weight up at the top, and then it falls all the way down, and it charges your stuff, which is pretty dope. The battery, oops, I pressed the button. This battery, there's a battery all inside of there with the lithium ion stuff. That just charges your phone. We've got a lot of some in-context views. You got ports, charge all your stuff, wireless phone charger, put your phone there, some outlets. And then here's all of a bunch of colors that you can do. I thought it could be kind of a personal thing, not your office. My favorite semester so far, I think, was the Mobile Future Studio, working with the Fred House studio here, which is the 4th year studio that they build guitars. I'm actually currently in it. So we started with a bunch of research, figuring out what kind of displays have been done, what works, what doesn't, what body styles it works with. And we also snooped around a little bit in the 4th year studio, trying to figure out what body styles they were with. So I unconventionally started with a study model because I really wanted to understand, looking at this thing, how high off the ground, away from the wall, and I wanted to see both sides of the guitar. That was really, really important to me. So after I came up with this model that was freestanding, then I went into some ideation, kind of figuring out, all right, what are some aesthetic pleasing ways to do this? And I came up with a silhouette half wall idea right here, freestanding, but that idea was eventually scrapped, but they liked the freestanding idea. And so I came up with a second study model, which was exactly that. It was just a cutout, and then I used it to see how it fit in the space, and then I also could test a lot of hardware. This thing was used throughout the entire design process, just to mount things and unmount things. I whipped into Photoshop and I was trying out all different kinds of things, but I eventually just decided to go with the white one right there. So we CNC'd them out, created some brackets. We got some hardware and 3D printed some caps and hardware and things, welded it up, painted it up. This guitar was actually very difficult because it didn't have a headstock. Most of these hung by the head, but this one did not. So I had to come up with, this to support it from the bottom right here. And I put in 3 touch points instead of 2 just for the redundancy of it. But that was supported more at the body than it was at the head. So yeah, we installed it up, and then exhibition day came, and it was pretty successful. I think my favorite thing about the exhibit was, as the flow of traffic came around, it almost revealed the guitars from the back as you came from the front. So I thought it was very success. I was very pleased with the work that I got to do on this project. So a little teaser for this final semester. I'm in the Fret House studio, so I'm building a guitar. And this is kind of what it's going to look like. So far, I'm teaching myself how to inlay right here, and I'm just kind of working with the shape and getting it to do everything I want it to do. This guitar is going to be kind of a conglomeration of just everything I love and all the guitars I've played so far. So, and that's what's coming this semester. So, thank you.
If you want to use the. Yeah, I'm using my laptop.
I do.
Tyson, you speak for all judges, so. Really,
Huh?
you're speaking for all judges, so,
I said yes.
yeah, so when you're ready,
Okay, sure.
you speak for all judges.
Say that.
Not trying to fight her, just trying to empower you over there. Scott, do you know the name of your industrial design font you've chosen?
No, but I'm sure the PowerPoint does.
I've used a similar one. I think it's called like
Or
blueberry oatmeal or black boys on mopeds. No, way off.
Matic SC.
All right, well,
You're like way off.
mine was so much more colorful.
Like not even close.
Just trying to make conversation. They're in my Mac one. Huh? Yes. Yeah.
Did you find that on the font?
I think for both of my friends, like, hey, you need this. Okay, who am I to say no?
That's the hottest font.
I had this professor he recently shared with me Fira Sands, and I'm digging it a lot right now. Where's Russ? He's like, load this on your computer, you'll thank me later. He's right. Sitting next to Mr. Universe over there.
Alright, we're good to go.
You said singing? You know singing's not my forte. You know it is my forte though. Why would you call for something I'm not good at? All right, we have the blessing.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Scott Allen Smith. I'm a senior student here in industrial design at Auburn University, and today I have the opportunity to share with you some of the projects that I've done along the way here. First, a little prologue or background information. Yeah, hierarchy, right? So I was born in Mobile, Alabama, to a loving family that I wouldn't change for the world. And for 3 months, I technically qualify as a 90s kid, but I don't think anyone really cares about that, and neither do I. If you want more information about me, I'm sure that you could find it by buying it off Facebook or something like that. But I'll get into some more stuff later. As a kid, I love to take things apart and build things out of just random boxes and cans that my grandparents had stored up for me over the years. And I think that taking those things apart really helped me understand products, even though I didn't really know at the time because I was just taking them apart and having fun with it, just kind of mindlessly. But I think that joy kind of took me from going from destruction to a learning process, which eventually brought me here today. And I'd like to think that I got a little bit better over the years at putting things back together rather than just leaving it in a pile in a drawer somewhere. Exhibit A few weeks ago when my headphones broke and I used some calipers, Fusion 360, and a 3D printer to fix them. So without further ado, I'm going to get into the projects that I've worked on. I'm going to share 4. This first one is called Luminaire. The essence behind it is that I spent 3 weeks on it right after the completion of another studio project, which I'll share. And so the first challenge that I got into is the brief. And the essence of the brief is what is the objective we're trying to complete? What are we trying to solve? And so for this one, it was relatively simple. This project was to create a flat pack lamp off of the IKEA light socket that we were provided, and not to use fasteners or glue, but only to have mechanical assembly methods using a laser cutter to cut the materials out. So immediately I went straight into sketching in my little handy notebook, and I went into Photoshop and kind of visualized the way that the light might reflect off of some different panels that I have included on there, and see what it kind of might look like. And then so I chose the designs that I thought were best after talking to my professors and fellow peers. And so I took those into Fusion 360 once again. I made some revolved shapes, which you can see in the thumbnails right there. And then I took the best one and made a foam core model out of it full scale, which stands at about 16 inches tall. And from that, I kind of realized some things that didn't quite work well. So I made some physical changes, and then once again went into CAD to change those again. And then so after using the bulb and the socket on the foam core model, I was able to see how the light reflects off of the foam core and kind of make inferences and test different materials by holding the light up to them, which led me to picking the birch plywood and the acrylic to show through the top without blocking the light. Then we get into the details, of which I changed the way that the pieces interlocked because the acrylic had snapped because of how tight the clearance was between each of the little sections. And so I had to change that to kind of play off of how the acrylic was better strengthened and how the plywood grain was constructed. And so from there, getting all the details finalized, I wanted to create a little something extra to kind of bring it further into reality. And so I made this box that wasn't required for the project. I thought it'd be cool to see how it might look on a store shelf, and then have the contents of what's inside of it. And then from there, you can see the assembly that it's super easy, just 1, 2, 3. You screw in the socket, you put the little panels in one by one, and then you just thread the bulb in there. And then this is a cool little photo of showing how the segmented spirals, you can't see the bulb directly from a horizontal view unless you're right on top of it. And it kind of blocks the light from going directly into your eye. So it creates this nice glowing effect, which you can see here in this little photo. And the design is ready for multi-size manufacturing. As long as you have the laser cut file, you can go with that. It's even parametric, the model that I have set up, so you can change your material thicknesses. Doesn't require any tools, easy to assemble. And so from this project, I learned that simplicity is refreshing and rewarding, and that less is more, which we all want in our design projects, but it's not always the case. The second project, called the Pod, is a hair dryer that we were supposed to redesign in our second year studios. I think that one's called the Inside Out, which is the vice versa of the clock. And so this one, the challenge was to redesign this hair dryer, making sure that it is a battery powered, battery operated hair dryer, and that it has that we understand all the internal components that go along with it. So first I went into looking into the market and researching some products that were already out there to kind of examine how they place, how users felt about them, different reviews on Amazon and such. And then I went into the part research, taking some things apart, which I'm naturally good at now. And then even looking online, and then creating some sketches off of that. Going straight into taking my understanding of the physical product onto paper, and then transitioning into models where I can kind of evaluate the ergonomics and see where the components would be and how the connections might be solved. And then going into another design direction, and then moving further into the details, the usage, the context of which it's used in or stored, and then showing that design is never finished and it's only revisited because I took it from our second year project all the way to last semester portfolio project. This third one is the prosthetic knee that I worked on. The challenge was to kind of create this product that took one knee and another that you would have to swap out and combine them into one. Phil Lauer and ABR helped with this project. They were clients of engineers and professionals to kind of guide us along the way. I took my ideas in sketch form to kind of visually communicate with the clients and Jared Wyndham, and then take that into my first prototype, which was successful. However, the rubber banding material would degrade over time, and so therefore it would need to be replaced and just cause a little bit of a headache for users. So I had to take that into a new direction, did several iterations through the use of 3D printing, got the final design from that, and then you can see that the phase changes now within one product. You simply have to take a pin out, bend the knee, slide it back in, and then you can go from running or walking to biking in a matter of minutes. And then you can see the usage cases for that. This project showed me that design is very complex, especially engineering, when I once thought I wanted to be an engineer. And then that simplifying those complexities can make the project a lot easier. This final one is called Scout. It is, along with what Brenner said, the very open-ended prompt of resilience and what is resilience. So taking those guidelines, I chose one of the 7 categories, went further down into research, condensed that even more by going from 30 ideas and sketches down into 1. And then so this is very like, you kind of doubt yourself here because you're like, okay, I've taken all this information down into one thing, doing the double diamond kind of approach. So then I justified the opportunity by doing some more research and showing what's available, and then going full scale prototyping to make sure that it works functionally. I then took that and judged the aesthetics and saw it, like if it should be gas or electric, what kind of motors have to go into it. Which then after 2 weeks of CAD, even over the Thanksgiving break last semester, I was able to finish this and kind of bring it into reality a little bit more. You can see all of the details, even the interface. And then you can also see the usage where you get on the train track and ride it along the rails to get out of dangerous traffic along highways and cities where intersections are common. And so you can see some of the usage, and then the final product, multiple viewing angles. This one I learned that you can be bold as long as you stay humble and know yourself in reality. And the project recap is that Luminaire taught that simple design is inspiring. The hairdryer showed us that design is never finished. It is only revisited later on. The knee showed us that design is complex and that you can simplify those complexities. And Scout showed us to be confident and humble. It's great to dream big, but then think realistically. Thank you all for coming and letting me share with you, and War Eagle. Christy.
Griffin's coming.
Let's look at the RW chair. What is that?
What?
Is this your computer?
Oh, yeah.
What's the RW chair?
Render week.
Ooh.
actually didn't submit it, unfortunately. I just got through it and then the deadline came up and I hadn't finished it yet, so. It's, one day I'll revisit it. Maybe.
Who are the people we need to know who are frequently finding themselves on Render Weekly?
Andrew Edge.
Have you seen his Pac-Man speaker?
Yeah, yeah. Was he like mad about the critique that it got?
He was, like, he did not name it the Pac-Man speaker. Someone in the comments said, hey, it looks like a Pac-Man. And then Render Weekly's like, yeah, we'll call it a Pac-Man speaker without consulting Andrew. So it's like they hijacked his design and gave it a corny name.
Yeah.
And he went down to like, they have these high ethics and standards. He's like, you just ignored your own rules.
Yeah. Dang. You called him out. I saw that and I was like,
Are you gonna have a slide?
I don't. My name is Griffin Walker. Sorry about that.
Not below. You're good. Going in GRYFFN. Last name?
Walker.
Walker.
You all good? All right. So hello, everyone, and thank you for coming out. My name is Griffin Walker. And I'd just like to state again what an honor it is to be selected for this competition. So a little about me. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama. And as I was approaching my graduation, I found myself, like many other college students, not really having any idea what I wanted to do. But luckily, my mom and my aunt really sort of pushed me creatively. But at the time, I sort of was like, well, the only thing I really know I can do is handily beat my family in Pictionary. But the only art class I've taken was an art class in high school where I just did paper mache heads. Luckily, or at the time, my sister was a student at Auburn, and she knew a fellow person in the industrial design program and ultimately made the connection for me. And I ultimately have her to thank for that connection being made. Fast forward a year, and I've worked harder than I ever have in my life to get into this major and have made some formative friendships along the way. Along the way, and as I approach the end of my time here at Auburn, I'd like to share with you some things that I've taken away from this program about industrial design. The first being that the market is always emerging, and this makes this major very ever-changing and exciting. Secondly, it's about helping others and connecting with the users of our products through the products that we create. And third, that you can't do it alone, that leaning on other designers and each other is an important and pivotal part of this major. The first project I'll be sharing with you is the project addressing the emerging market in a sponsored studio that I did with Playcore. Industrial design and Playcore here at Auburn have been partners for a long time, and Playcore is a company whose mission is to better communities and people's lives through play. So with them being a long-standing partner, this was a very exciting opportunity for me. The emerging market that Playcore was targeting is aging populations as they enter assisted living facilities and require or desire a more physical lifestyle to keep up a prior level of function. The ideation phase and research phase was extensive for this prompt, and I had 3 areas of focus in my project: physical engagement and returning the users to that prior level of function. Second of all was the neurological and vestibular stimulation. In other words, the happy chemicals that are released in our brain whenever we get in motion or in play. And third, inclusive and intergenerational relationships, which were proven to benefit the mental health of the elderly. The design process that I followed was based on a philosophy instilled in me here in Auburn that form follows function. So I focused mainly on the functional aspects of my design and meeting all the safety features, and then moved on to overall form development and adding inclusive additions like extra seating to meet the needs of the inclusive relationships. This final product is the attunement glider, a seated leg exercise, which integrates features for safety. Some of these features include the rotomolded seat that allows for safety strapping of the users, integrated air shocks underneath that control the speed and disallow any jerking around of the users, and finally, the use of color to communicate interaction points and communicate the triggers to play of this design. Finally, the extra seats on the side were detached from the overall assembly and made separate from the design for shipping and installation purposes. The second design project that I'll be sharing with you today focuses on helping users with a specific need. This project was done with the Assistive Technology Studio partnering with Alabama State University's Prosthetic and Orthotic Department. I'd like to introduce you to Emily, the user that we were designing for this semester. Emily Steffen is a student worker at the Prosthetic and Orthotic Lab who has a transradial prosthesis, meaning that she has an artificial limb that replaces her arm that's missing below her elbow. And part of our problem recognition, she reported that she has trouble handling the heated molds as they come out of the oven for the prosthetic sockets and performing finishing processes on those sockets, such as routing in the router in the lab there. This studio focused heavily on the prototyping of designs through 3D print. Some of the considerations that we had to focus heavily on were material rigidity as well as flexibility, and Emily's ability to control these organically shaped sockets, because all these sockets are custom fit to each user. So there's going to be multiple different sizes. The solution I had for the handling of Emily's heated molds control had a rubber overmolding for control, as well as a thumb recession and an ergonomic handle to leverage the material's flexibility and give Emily the ultimate control as she removes these heated molds and flips them over onto positive socket casts. The socket routing device that I designed was strapped onto Emily's residual limb with 5 small suction cups and a silicone material that would allow her to maneuver the finished sockets on the router with ease. Both devices were delivered to Emily at the end of the semester, and we got to see our designs help her make her job easier in real time. It's often easy to get distracted by the little details within our design and let the user fall out of sight. But working alongside Emily, we were able to keep her needs consistently focused on this project, an opportunity that not all projects in design offer. At the end of this semester, I had an opportunity presented to me as I was sitting in studio one day. Professor Jared Wyndham walked in and says, "Who wants to design furniture at the beach?" So naturally, my hand shot up, and a few emails later, I found myself doing my first internship experience with Yotrio in Pensacola, Florida. I spent this summer working alongside junior and senior designers in developing 2023 products. And I got to go to the beach. So being in this position provided me with great knowledge of the furniture design industry, and some things I took away from this experience were some knowledge of standard furniture dimensions, manufacturing techniques, cost-saving design, shipping considerations, material construction and development, as well as the ability to create contributions to major retailers. While in the office, I had interactions with industrial designers and also CMF designers for Yotrio. Our office had an extensive material library that helped me inform my design decisions, as well as an array of furniture catalogs that were available to me so I could analyze trends in the market. I was told as an intern to sketch whenever I get free time. And if any of you have ever had internships before, you know you kind of have a lot of free time because they sometimes don't know what to do with you. So needless to say, I sketched a lot. And the nature of this design process at Yotrio is fast paced. So often I would present my sketches for critique or to see what they thought, and I would get to jump right into SolidWorks modeling. Some of the companies that I got to model for while at Yotrio were Sam's Club, At Home, Target, and Lowe's, all very familiar to us. Sam's Club was a very big box store focused on traditional styles, meaning maybe a higher paying customer's needs, while At Home was a little bit more trendy, and Target was forced in a more modern direction from what I could tell, and Lowe's was a lot about more simple products that are more direct to consumers. So overall, my time at Yotrio, I gained a lot of knowledge in these softwares like SolidWorks and Keyshot, but above all, it made me recognize that the world of design is all about collaboration. Being able to sit in a room and watch junior and senior designers talk about each other's work constructively forced the realization that you really can't do it alone. So in conclusion, over my time here at Auburn, with Playcore, I've realized that there's always an emerging market and assistive technology that is all about helping others. And with my internship at Yotrio, I realized that I can't do it alone. Thank you. Are you using this computer, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, we need like 2 minutes.
It's a patience thing.
You
Ooh.
look sharp, buddy. You might have to like click and drag the tab over. It might be extended. Yes.
Technical difficulties. Lost his computer.
You still got time. You're good, you're good.
I don't know what to do here.
There's my settings at the top. Say, okay, screen.
Oh,
You're good.
Can we scan that barcode?
no, I apologize.
It's super tempting.
Sorry about that.
Probably like-
It was connected to my
Probably like Bartlett pears or something, some type of random grocery store item. More of a time killer question. For those of you who've ever gone to Ireland, has anyone ever inquired of Randy whether he feels some type of way about Bartlett pears? Bartlett pears. It's a sub like
Oh.
Asian pears. It's a type of
I feel
pear.
like I've heard him talk
Like-
about it, but
There's Asian pears. I really don't know if anything can be beyond Asian pears and Bartlett pears.
Why does that have anything to do with my
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, you just kind of have to grab get Randy by himself, be like, how do you feel about this thing that has your name included? Because I've gotten bush baked beans too many times in my life. And that is,
Yeah,
it's
it's so
just-
different. Mhm.
that's the beer.
Legally changed.
No.
Oh, I thought they did. I thought they did too, Daniel. I thought they did too. I thought they did too.
That's the best.
I know. All right, I think we're ready.
Thank you, Tyson.
Hello, everyone. My name is Christopher White. I just want to start off by giving huge thanks to IDSA and everyone who made it out to come and watch us present. Thank you guys so much. So I was born in New Orleans, Louisiana, and I spent the later part of my childhood in Florence, Alabama. As far as I can remember, I've always been a maker, and it's kind of tagged me along into my career choices to be a machinist from Southern Union State Community College, just up the road. At Southern Union, I really loved the part of machining that let me create, but I was really dissatisfied with the lack of creativity that the field kind of brought me. Luckily, I met Hunter Parker, who had the same background as me. He showed me how Auburn's industrial design program is where I needed to be. So today, I'm going to talk about 3 projects that had the most profound effect on who I am as a designer today. As we all know, one of the most important skills a designer can have is time management. Unfortunately for me, that's a skill that I lack. Distractions were kind of welcome in my life. So I challenged myself to a 1-week design sprint. And in that week, I decided to make a schedule to kind of keep me on track. As a student who's always distracted, I knew this could be difficult to stick to. So I began to look deeper into how my friends and I play video games here in the studio in our downtime. And one consistent hassle was tangled wires and mixed match controllers. So after some initial sketching, my solution to the problem was a foldable controller that was easily connectable and carryable.
I initially thought that this time management challenge would help me learn to stay on track and keep focused. But what it really taught me was how to make decisions and how to be confident in those decisions. So I started testing my decisions on people of all shapes and sizes. Shout out to Professor Ben for taking my testing phase so seriously. And my decisions led to a charging pack that fits snugly into a backpack, adjustable grips for saving space, and ergonomics for people of all sizes, and a minimalistic aesthetic that people can take pride in. My love for spending time with others playing video games in this short timeline really forced me to make decisions without turning back. And this culminated in a project that not only boosted my confidence as a designer, but also was the most fun I'd had yet. On my second project. During my development of Helio, I realized that the role designers play in contributing to humanity's bounce back from disasters was huge. Our world is facing a growing water crisis, and in this section, I'm going to talk about how I addressed that problem and what I learned about key insights through testing and research. I learned that there's 335 million cubic miles of water on this planet, which is equivalent, 1 cubic mile is equivalent to about 1.6 million Olympic pools. And unfortunately, in all that water we have, less than 2% of that is actually drinkable. I also learned that the cleanest water you can get is distilled water. Unfortunately, creating the heat source for that is very expensive. So I began asking myself, how can I make that heat source cheaper or free? And one day as I was leaving this building, the Alabama heat reminded me that the sun is hot. And it's also free. So I began exploring using the sun as a distillation heat source through sketching, form, and function. And after that, I began to test using what I call a Fresnel lens to figure out exactly how hot I could get water using this flat lens. The first major key insight that I learned was that the sun moves a lot, and keeping my solar spot focused in one place required constant watch and tons of adjustment. So I implemented a solar sensor and a solar panel. Combine that technology with motors on 3 axes, and you allow Helio to efficiently and consistently follow the sun. Insight like this led to a collection system that was very easy to use, with a simple removal of a container and a twisting of the barrel, a more efficient method of evaporation, and the capacity for a family of 4 to have water every single day. Chasing key insights like this really allowed me to create a product that actually would make a difference in the world. My third and final project, I had the pleasure of working with Amputee Blade Runners, which is a nonprofit organization that allows amputee athletes to be more active by providing them with prosthesis for free. So we worked to improve an existing need that allowed users to run and walk all in one device. By switching out a simple bumper in the middle would allow users to experience different levels of resistance. While this did meet the need, it was not very user-friendly and it was not adjustable. This is Michaela. Michaela is a bilateral amputee who has a congenital above the knee amputation and below the knee elective amputation. Michaela is also my wife. If she wanted to go for a run, it would take her a minimum of 6 minutes to change out all of her equipment. Having so much equipment and taking so much time really caused her frustration just to enjoy a run. So one aspect of the running experience that wasn't addressed was the running bumper. It's attached to the back of the leg. What the running bumper does is allows a user to swing their leg back out so that they know that it's locked out the moment that their foot reaches the ground. For them, bumper is trust. Currently, Michaela and a lot of other amputees use only a tennis ball and duct tape as a running extension. So I began developing a bumper that could easily be pulled off with your fingers, as you can see there. So I brought it home to Michaela, and her advice to me was, oh, so you have to use fingers to use it. And in that moment, I realized how little I knew about the user and how much I should know about them. So after this aha moment, I adjusted my design to take force in one direction, allowing users to push on that bumper in any other direction with their residual limbs. Understanding the user really allowed me to redesign a need that makes a process that was once a real stress point now a liberating experience. Again, I want to thank everybody for coming out and the judges for being here. IDSA is amazing. And I also want to thank my fellow competitors for being such awesome people. Thank you.